was denied by your committee because it was deemed too costly for the town. This column, which is standard in many districts, is being dismissed out of hand. Why? It certainly should not be because the town of Erving cannot afford it, as was shared to us. As a matter of fact, you folks, the school committee, just returned over $250,000 from this past year's operating budget that wasn't spent. The town of Erving is currently sitting on just under $10 million in a savings account, $10 million in their stabilization account, according to the fiscal year 23 proposed operating budget. However, the town's leadership feels that in a time of nearly 9% inflation and with nearly $10 million in savings, a 2% increase for its emergency personnel and other staff around the town, and less than 2% for teachers is fair and reasonable. We strongly disagree. Not all of you are at the negotiating table, but you should be aware of the progress at the table, and each of you has a voice in this process. If you didn't know about much or all that I have shared here tonight, I hope it has persuaded you to think about all of the dedicated staff members you have right here, and not just those in this room tonight. With the massive raises given to a very select few town workers, and with absolutely the ability to give what is fair, I hope each of you find your voice to say, enough. It's time to settle a contract that shows we value our schools and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. We're going into executive session this evening to discuss that. Yeah, we can. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. My name is Heather, and I'm going to read something from my colleague. Thank you for your trust in my reading of this. Dear members of school committee, when I heard about contract negotiations, how contract negotiations were progressing, I was so sad, confused, and hurt. I wondered why and what happened to make you devalue me and all the teachers that work so hard to support our students. Have the distancing requirements of COVID not only separated us physically, but has it separated us as a community? Does the community that I love and value so much not feel the same for me? After reflecting upon this over and over, I began to realize that the negotiations are a result of a very small representation of the Erving community, and I began to feel angry. I wondered if you know the kind of teacher I am and what I have poured into this beautiful little school. So before you make decisions that affect my life, I would like to share a bit about myself with you. Last year was my 7th year teaching at Erving and my 2nd year teaching kindergarten. The first year of kindergarten completely wore me down. If you know me at all, you know that I have difficulty speaking in front of large groups of people above kindergarten age. And I struggle with technology. Where'd he go? Thank God for Tom Smith. Teaching through COVID was one of the worst years of my life. I never slept. I was constantly working to learn new technology and then have to try to teach it to parents. Again, thank God for Tom. I would begin getting the day ready hours before the kids logged on to make sure everything was working for my kindergartners, while continuing to figure out ways to make everything developmentally appropriate, follow all the kindergarten curriculum, and ensure that all the kids were doing okay emotionally. Trying to read that through a computer screen doesn't feel great. For me, that was not the worst part. I struggled with having to sing, dance, soothe upset kindergartners, and manage behaviors all while in front of a group of people that were not just kindergartners. Every time I sat in front of that computer to begin a Google Meet, I felt like I was going to throw up. Like, no. But I did. I pushed through a lifelong struggle I have had without a word, because that's what most of us teachers do. I couldn't work from home because my Wi-Fi didn't work with my 3 daughters and husband in live meetings all day. So I worked in a very cold building. I worked countless hours, taught in ways that I totally didn't sign up for, and put myself and my family on the back burner so I could be there for my students and their families. I was so excited for my 2nd year teaching kindergarten, but it didn't turn out to be the year I had looked forward to. I have a blood clotting disorder, and last year I developed a pulmonary embolism in January, and I was treated for several days at the hospital. I returned as the kindergarten teacher for only half days because my recovery was slow. I later found out that a medication that doctors had switched me to wasn't treating the clot and it was going deeper into my lung. And in mid-February, the clot broke free and burst through my heart. After that, I was not able to return back to my classroom and my students. Leaving them at this time of year was so hard for everyone. Through my own choice, I worked my best to ease the hardship. I wrote upcoming education assessments for students' IEPs, consulted with a kindergarten team, and kept in contact with the children. I came in for special days like field day, to plant our kindergarten garden outside our classroom door. I watched. They did all the work. And just to spend some time with them. I don't write this for sympathy. I just want you to see how much I love my students, this school, and how I work for both, even when I'm pushing myself too far. I know that no one asked me to. I just want you to know how much I really do care. I want to end with this. I am a person who loves Erving Elementary School. I am a person who loves my students and their families. And I am a person. I have 3 daughters, a husband, a mortgage, an insane increase in so many of my bills that are needed to live. Oil, gas, food, and electricity have skyrocketed for me. And now I have accrued thousands of dollars in medical bills. Those small increases in our health insurance copays really add up fast when something goes wrong. You 4. Sorry, I had it. Where'd it go? You 4 know how it is right now and how hard it has been the past few years. If I don't deserve your support right now, then when will I? I am just one voice, but if you speak to all of us, you will see how similar we are. I know a teacher who took on teaching 2 classrooms without thinking twice because she loves our kids. I know a teacher who spent countless hours helping teachers, students, and families make online schoolwork during COVID. I know teachers who have fractured kneecaps and still gather collections of books for teachers and kids. I know teachers who have suffered great losses and pushed on through without skipping a beat, and on and on and on and on. We do deserve your and the school community's support. In hopes you can hear us. Jamie Parse, Erving Elementary School.
Any other public hearing? Thank you all for coming and thank you for sharing your stories. Appreciate it. Anybody else have anything? Public hearing? All right, we will move on to the approval of the minutes. So we have May 17th, 2020. We just have to edit this one. So we need to change the budget and personnel line to policy committee. Yep, so May 17th. See, yeah, where it's struck out.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Yeah, so we're just, so, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th bullet down from the May 17th meeting minutes from budget and personnel needs to be changed to policy. So I'll make a motion to amend those meeting minutes to that change.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. And then we just have to go ahead and approve the minutes from June 21st and August 23rd.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from June 21st and for August 23rd.
No, I'll second it. It doesn't matter that I wasn't here, right?
Yep, nope, you can
Okay,
have, absolutely, as long as you've read them, that's totally fine.
Yep, just want to make sure.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Great. These minutes are passed. All right, and the warrants, Caitlin was gonna go ahead and give to Brittany.
Yeah, so I sent the warrants to Brittany. There are 21 of them because they go back to June, so I
Okay.
won't read them. It's a
Okay.
lot.
Yep, that's fine.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
As long as they're in the minutes.
Yep,
we're good.
yep, absolutely. Great. And report of the Gil Montague representative. I don't see her here, so we will go for that one. CES, Dave, you're gonna go to that.
Well, I was going to, but my new night school is going to be a conflict for that, so I'm hoping to find either someone that can either take that or have a way to get some notes on that and then deliver it. So,
Yeah, if you wanted to get the notes, if you want to reach out to Dan Hayes, right?
Yeah, he's on
yeah.
the,
He might be a good contact to go ahead and reach out to get the meeting minutes for that, because someone had reached out to me too about that. The regionalization update, we had a recent meeting on August 31st. The main focus right now is putting together a really large slideshow to go ahead and present to the towns. And actually that I kind of want to talk to you about, actually I guess I'll move it up.
the agreement.
Yeah, the agreement. I just wanted to hopefully y'all read this. So this agreement goes way back to the 1980. Just kind of thinking about, because we don't have a vote. So currently we don't have a vote at the Gilmontague table. So it's just something that we want to think about if we ever wanted to amend it. So the way we go ahead and tuition over there is there's this lovely formula they came up with of adding up basically the chapter 766 or regular education rate, 185 per days over 7 periods is like the per period rate. But just kind of having that thought in our heads of where we want to move forward if this does end up regionalizing, of maybe amending that agreement, or so that we actually have a vote on the table, because attending these meetings I'm able to participate, but yet we don't actually have a vote. So maybe we could just take some more time to let this marinate. I know that you have been given this document, but maybe bring this back to the next meeting, kind of having maybe a further discussion about it.
So we'll keep this on the agenda?
Yeah. Does anybody have questions or anything?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure, because maybe once it's a region, it would be different too. Would that affect anything with our union versus, our kids going from elementary level to then moving? And would they allow a vote? Is that seen other places, or would this be something new?
I believe so. Actually, if we wanted to ever actually get out of this agreement, we have to give them 5 years. But again, if we regionalize, I don't know between the two districts. I'm not quite sure.
It's almost like
If this agreement would actually be null and void, and we would have a choice to either go forward with the new regionalization, because again, it would be a brand new school. So I don't even think that they even know that as well, the regionalization committee, because it had come up in the past.
Right. I mean, it would make sense if it's regional that we would have, say in things at that point, because there's other towns that have say as well.
Right. So if they built a new regionalization, we would have a new agreement with them and moving forward.
Whether it's a new tuition agreement or Erving
Right.
chooses to join the region 7 through 12.
Right.
So that probably would be a good question to ask at both the meeting and perhaps legal counsel to see what that might look like for the town.
Absolutely. Great. And I have been on that committee for 3 years. So I was looking to maybe get some more fresh ideas in there, because I've been, like I said, been on for a while, and maybe some other people have, ideas that they might want to share.
I think last time, I don't know if we voted on it, but I shared that I would
You'd be-
more than
okay.
willing to
Awesome.
join in on that
Okay.
conversation. So.
Fantastic. I know. Did we actually? Was it in the notes? Were you a backup for that, or?
I think so. It would have been the May meeting.
Yeah, I see this one. Yeah, just looking at 20. I don't think we actually voted on that one.
And I haven't seen any emails or anything come through. So if there's someone that I should reach out to. Or...
Yeah, it is Alan Genovese. He's actually the chair at Pioneer, I believe. That would be wonderful. Any other questions on that regionalization update? All right, and we will move forward with the Capital Planning Committee update. I guess I can kind of speak to that, or unless you wanted to, Lisa, it's up to you.
Walk-in freezer's gonna happen.
Yeah, we signed the agreement. It's all it's in
Cabinets are
motion.
done. Walk-in
Yep.
freezer's gonna happen.
Yep.
Hopefully February break, if not February, April, if not April, summer.
Yep. And also, I did just see, I don't know if you got I think you got the email about there's HVAC money, like $100,000 in grant.
Yes.
So that's really exciting that that's something, that was the next thing on our list, so.
Right.
For whack-a-mole
yeah,
air conditioning
yes.
system.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was something we would bring up at our collaborative meeting, to
Okay.
how we might pursue that.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. Thank you. All right, Superintendent's Report.
Yes. So we started opening day this year in person, which was really nice. Thank you so much, Erving Elementary, for hosting as always. We had a beautiful tent outside. It was nice to hear the buzz of voices and to see people's faces. We welcomed some new staff or staff in new positions, some new administrators. We have a new director of curriculum and instruction. We shared our draft strategic plan. So what does Union 28 look like from now for the next 3 to 5 years? The leadership team has worked on that all summer long, so thank you to them. Typically we do our required civil rights training school by school, but this year we did it all together, which was nice, so everybody got to hear the same message. And our new curriculum director presented our district curriculum accommodation plan that Prudence Marsh started with me 3 years ago, before COVID, and we finally wrapped it up and shared it. And we had a bubble machine, and everybody left with a little vial of bubbles, so, to find the joy in our school year and in life. We have some wonderful professional development coming this year. We're doing work with the Hill for Literacy around the science of reading, and that's going to be all across Union 28. There will be 7 modules, and folks can earn additional college credit if they so choose. We're also doing some equity work with the collaborative over the course of the year, and that supports our work that we started last year around anti-bias training. And lastly, our Director of Finance and Operations is starting a Union 28 Wellness Committee. I believe at one time we had them at each one of the schools, but rather than do the work quadruple, we're going to have one cohesive committee, and there will be principal representation among others, and I'm sure Caitlin will talk about that a little, next, actually.
Perfect.
So that's my report this evening.
Thank you very much.
And I just wanted to share a thank you for having someone share the newsletter from your superintendent's office. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yes,
And I
fantastic,
appreciated
absolutely.
all of the extra information and seeing faces. The pictures were nice to see faces and staff
Awesome,
and
thank
get
you.
to see everyone. So I just wanted to
Watch
provide
out
that
next month. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Kate.
so no, it was really well received. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, and I would like to echo that as well. It was nice to go ahead and read it. And does it get sent out to all staff as well?
It gets sent out
Yeah,
to the staff.
awesome. Very cool. Thank you. All right, Director of Finance and Operations Report.
Well, it's great to be back and have everyone else in the building with us. It's kind of a little sad when there's no children in the school.
Summertime.
Yeah, summertime.
The quiet of summer.
Yes. Emily continues to decorate our window in the business office for that says welcome back, and I'm like, oh, it's so cheery now. So I had a presentation on expenditure reports. I can't visually show it to you, but I can walk you through exactly what I would have said during it. So the presentation itself has slightly different numbers because it's based on the expenditure report from last week.
Okay.
But if you want to look at your expenditure report, I'm going to explain column by column.
Great. Awesome. I had some questions. Great.
And then we can send that slideshow out.
Yes, absolutely. I'll send the PDF. So the first column on any expenditure report you're going to get from me is the account number. That number is matched with the description for each of our account lines. So if anything comes out of, say, copier maintenance, it will follow that. We enter in that account number, 10001.01 and so on. So any Erving account number will always start with 10001. It's not like that for their schools. They end in 10002 or 3 or 4, but you have the luxury of being 1001. So that is the account column. The description matches to that account number. Some of them are pretty abbreviated, so if you're not sure what it means, just ask. Like classroom teacher salaries, regular education, that gets shortened down quite a bit because that's a big line. And the next one is the GL budget. That is a general ledger budget. It's how much we budgeted in at when we created the budget back in last fall, spring, got voted on by the school committee, and then went to the town. each of those pieces matches what was in that budget. The range to date is just a set value of, it's usually the last month, so it's all of the expenditures within the last month for that line. And year to date would be since July 1st. So that year to date column is, if you want to look at, let's say, the fourth line down, legal counsel local. Year to date, we have spent $800 out of the $5,600 budgeted, $400 in the past month. The balance is the budgeted amount minus what the year to date value is. It's what we budgeted, take out what we've spent, and that's our balance. Then it gets a little more complicated with encumbrance. That's the money that we know we are going to spend, either because we have to employ the wonderful teachers, and so we know we're going to be paying for them all year long. So it gets taken out, and that amount is encumbered. It also for anything that we're in a contract with. So if we're in a copier contract, we know that will happen every month. That amount gets encumbered. And the budget balance is different than the balance because it takes the balance and then also removes the encumbrance. And that's the most important column to really keep track of. It's how much money we've already spent and we're planning on spending out of that. It's what's left. And some of the values aren't perfect yet. You'll notice that for one of them, it's in the negative 138,000 for specialist teacher special ed. That is in over September, October, we start to move around some of the positions and where their pay is being taken out of, and especially as we get information of how much we're getting in grants, then we start to take some of those paychecks out of the grants and things move around a little bit. So it's a little bit too early, especially to tell for the payroll lines. It's better right now. It's pretty accurate for the ones that are more on supplies and maintenance. And then at the very bottom on the last page where it says grand total, that is the grand total of the general ledger budget, grand total range to date, grand total of all those, and most importantly, that value of $1,624.40. That's the value that we track most closely because that's the one that we have to keep above zero as we reach the end of the year on June 30th.
Great. I just had a couple questions about the negative balances, I believe, in the network and telecom, and then U28 office supplies.
Network and telecom, that could be the phone.
It could have been the phone. I think we budgeted for the phone though, unless the amount went up. I can look into those. So can you tell me those again? And I'll
Sure,
get
no
that
problem.
explained.
Yep. It was the networking and telecom line. That's negative $117.
Oh, yep.
And then the Union 28 office supplies.
That may have been because we had new, that would have been our office supplies. I'll have to look into that one.
Okay, thank you so much.
That could be tied to new staff and new things that were needed.
Great.
So moving on, right now I'm working on finalizing end of year reports. Those are due September 30th. And trying to scramble to get those in right now. I know,
She
kind of.
only has 4 of them.
I
Right.
hope that it stays September forever.
Yes.
But it's gonna get there. And the Wellness Committee is going to be a union-wide committee, which is really helpful because we need to have a nurse, a school adjustment counselor, or a school psychologist, and a phys ed teacher, and a food service director, and we need to have all of these people part of it. And so if we were to have one for each of the 4 schools, it would kind of put too much on the people that do those jobs to have it be not as much a volunteer if you have time, but like we kind of really need your input. So it's been great because over the 4 schools, I've had volunteers from all 4 schools, and in every single role, including all 4 school nurses have volunteered, which is great.
Excellent.
And the principals are going to be rotating in and attending the meetings also.
Great.
And lastly, I have the Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials bi-monthly next week, where it's a full day of professional development. Some of the pieces are on curriculum funding, conflict resolution, and an update from DESI.
Great.
With the wellness committee, are there any benefits from like the insurance that the union uses that you can kind of share with staff, or like benefits that they'll give you for doing stuff like that?
So the wellness committee for Union 28 will be specifically student focused.
Okay.
But I've rolled in Jessalyn Zakowski, the HR payroll person,
Oh, cool.
because she runs the benefits for New Salem Wendell. All that information gets passed to her, so she's in line with American Benefits Group, and she's able to kind of help guide us in that. I'm glad you brought me back to the wellness committee, because I forgot to say I need a couple school committee volunteers to be part of the wellness committee. So if you're interested in doing it, it's only going to be probably 5 meetings throughout the year, every other month, afternoon, remote meetings, and so think about it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, awesome. So the focus is on the children, not the
Yes.
adults. Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking about the adults, but.
Yeah. So this is mostly around school nutrition, so how we're
Okay.
feeding our kids, nutrition education, how we're teaching our kids to feed themselves when they get home, and
Okay.
physical education and other student health and wellness
Awesome.
objectives.
So just send you an email.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And this comes up in our food service audits, so it's really good to have,
Oh, good.
be proactive and have this.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Principals report.
Right. Everyone's left. Thank you for staying. The audience is gone. So today was the 14th day of school. So as we've gone through our first 14 days, we've had in-person kindergarten open house and a bus tour, which Mrs. Parse did last year and this year. All schools sing. We had our first fire drill. We've had our first virtual pie meeting, and we actually got a new parent to come on board and help out, so that was very exciting, although I guess we lost one and we gained one, so we're still at 4, I think. We had a Union 28 virtual safety meeting with Sheriff Carmichael, who used to be Trooper Carmichael and now is Sheriff Carmichael, and getting us up to date and up to speed, just a refresher on lockdowns and keeping the kids in the school safe. Day 15, which is tomorrow, pre-K and K are going to the apple orchard. Day 16 is Thursday, and we'll have our second all-school sing. Next week on Wednesday, the 28th, from 6 to 7 is open house. You are all welcome to come. Children or no children, so pass that on to Eric as well, so you can see what's going on in the school. Some teaching and learning updates. Our amazing literacy team of Melissa Mazzella and Wendy Arnold have completed literacy assessments grades K through 6. So they've hit the ground rolling, and in 14 days have done that. So they've done the benchmark assessment system, as well as Dibbles 8, which is a new screener that screens for early childhood screener, and also screens for dyslexia, and it's a requirement by DESI. So we are fortunate we got ahead of the crowd and starting that for this year, whereas some schools, I went to a dyslexia symposium this summer, and some schools haven't even adopted a universal screener yet, so I feel that
And I think it's important to point out that if we apply for any literacy grants,
we must have
that
the screener.
having the Dibbles 8 screener or an approved
It has to be
screener is gonna be
yes.
important.
And I felt really bad at this symposium, because DESI had sent out a list this long this time last year, and then by summertime, the list was like, oh no, it's only these ones. So if you would purchase any of these other screeners, and they're off the list, they're no longer approved by DESI, but it's mandated from the state that we have those. So we'll be having our literacy data meetings next week. We'll be looking at kids, we'll be looking at the needs of kids, and then determining what those tiered interventions look like. The math assessments are underway for grades K through 2, and tomorrow afternoon, we're starting a new universal number set screener for grades 3 through 6. So the teachers 3 through 6, myself, math team members, and our special education team will all be trained on how to give this screener, and it's an interview style, so it's very intimate with the child. You're watching what they're thinking, they're talking you through it. I've seen some examples, so I'm excited that we'll have that. And then once that information is all finished, and we finished our second training, we'll be coming together for grade level meetings and looking at that data as well. And I just learned today that our kindergarten screenings are all complete. Something different that I did this year is I took some of our Wednesday afternoons that we have, And I'm using those for consultation. Oh, no, I'm gonna take that back. Yes, no, nope, consultation. And it has to be consultation because we put consultation on a student's IEP. So we're having afternoons where the staff come together in different teams, and they have 40-minute blocks, so that I can make sure that the special education liaison, the math teacher, the reading specialist can all get to the first grade meeting. It's quite a matrix to put this all together. So last week was our first one, and part of the work that the data will be looking from the reading and the math will take place in those Wednesday afternoons. So it came to my attention last year from some of the classroom teachers that they were giving up all of their prep period to have a meeting with the reading teacher, have a meeting with the special education liaison, which we legally have to do because of an IEP, having a meeting with the math coach for planning, and they weren't getting their prep time. So the idea has been well received, and now what I'm really doing is I am saying to the teams of teachers, I can make your agenda for you, but I'm empowering them to make their own. So hopefully, the first one was a little different, and I'm hoping that not this one, not tomorrow, but the following one will go better. And they'll find their groove and they'll find their flow. We have a staffing update. Gary Porlier is retiring on Friday, the 11th of November, and I'm happy to share that Eric Harris will start in the role as the head custodian, and Bill Fisk will then come on as the assistant custodian starting November 14th. I'm interviewing for paraeducator next Monday, and as Mr. Burnett shared, subbing is a huge issue. We have one substitute teacher for this building. God bless Ann Krusnick. It's all we've got. We have 2 assigned to us from the sub-coordinator, and 1 is out on a medical issue. So it's really, really, really a challenge, and everybody's putting all hands on deck to help. And people are out, it's for whatever reasons, people have their time, so that's been a real struggle for 14 days. There hasn't been a day where we've had the entire staff here from the first day of school.
No, do they not pull from the pool, or there's just not, there isn't a
There's
pool?
only certain certain subs will only go to certain buildings, and they tell the sub-coordinator where they want to go. So we know from Robin who will go to Leverett, who will go to Shutesbury, every school, up 2 or 3, many.
And we even raised the sub rates across Union 28.
And
so-
reposted.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure people work anymore.
Is there like a strategic planning around that, or like a plan? I just didn't know, like, I know in bigger schools, so obviously Irving's a lot smaller, but they have that as a position. Like, do you think if that was budgeted and posted as a
I'd love to.
in-house sub position that
We
was
would love to do
utilized,
that, but
is that a thing?
Any new position that's created has to go in front of the school committee. I think it's one of our policies, so.
Okay. Is that something that we would present to would I present it to my peers, or would it have to be presented from Lisa, or how does that
So
work?
probably during our budget planning, we will
Okay.
be talking about that, because it's an idea we talked about this summer, but it has to come in front of the committee. So when we're
Okay.
thinking about FY '24, that definitely would be helpful. to
Okay.
have that
And I
position.
want to say, like, Ann is that person right
Yeah.
now. I very rarely answer the phone. It was like 4:10, and I saw it was Ann. I was like, oh God, please tell me you're coming in. So I would love that. I would
Okay.
absolutely love it. But I feel the bigger problem is I can't even fill para room.
Right.
We can't even, so I don't even know how we find someone to be a sub, because it would almost virtually be the same exact role.
We have 3 openings, right? Fair openings.
Correct. Yep. So people just aren't coming to work, don't want to work.
And it's happening across Union 28.
Yeah.
There's empty positions or open positions, or I've never had, doing final interviews this late. Well, early in the school year, I should say, but late in the hiring.
And we also are posting for a sub custodian. So because we'll need a sub, because Eric and Bill take time off, have vacation time. And you know anybody who's looking to be a para or a sub custodian or substitute, send them our way.
Put it on your Facebook page,
I
talk
put
to
it
your
on my
friends.
Facebook. I take photos of the posting, put it on Facebook, ask Gilly to share it in her network, and it's all over the place.
Okay, so it's usually on the website,
Mhm.
and then is it on School Spring?
Mhm.
Is there any other,
I have just asked Pam to put the para position in the local newspapers also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because And I also think with School Spring, we connect with Indeed. Hopefully it's there.
Okay. Because I know it was shared on a local Erving Facebook group with parents and stuff, which I think is encouraging.
Yes.
I think
Yep.
sometimes the information isn't always out there, and
Oh, it's out there.
well, where people feel like they
Accessible.
right,
Yeah.
right. You know, if you're not a teacher, you probably aren't on School Spring. If
Exactly.
you're not a this, you might not be on this.
Yeah.
But to encourage, and I've shared that information and encouraged some people. I wish my job would let me work 4 days a week.
And that's why I also said to Kim, let's put it in the newspaper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause
absolutely.
people still look at the newspaper or look online. I mean, we've got to do everything. And a new kid applied last night. I saw it this morning at 5 a.m. He was already scheduled for an interview by 10 today. So we're not wasting any time if somebody actually applies. Just a few more things. An enrollment update. I want to share with the committee something that continues to plague. I don't want to talk for the other schools, but for Union 28, is families having true proof of residency. We are at a place right now where the school, and I'm going to say the school being myself and Pat and Gail, because we take care of all of the registration, where we have grandparents that live in town. And I'm going to use you, Jen. Your parents live here. You're going to go move in with your parents, and now your kids are going to come here. And they're not having the accurate proof of residency. Or they're doubling up, and a landlord is saying, yes, they're living here. But when we know that they're truly doubling up. So it's really becoming problematic. The school has a great reputation, but I also think it's a community where grandparents are supporting kids who are supporting grandkids. So it's making it, there's few cases right now I'm really questioning, do they live here? And then we have another case coming up where we know they don't live here, and they're saying they live here and they don't live here. And you can't come if you don't live here. I reach Pat and I take calls all the time. There's no school choice. There's, so it's really becoming problematic with the community, and then it just brings more people into the school. So it's something, just want to share it with all of you, because it could get out that the school is not taking people. They're saying you have to have the right proof of residency, and you can't just give me a piece of mail that says with your Erving address on it. So it's a Union 28 form that we all share, looking for those specific things. So lots of people have letters that go to somebody's house. I used to get mail in my old house in Connecticut still, but there's a big question of whether people are really residing in the address where they're claiming that they live. So just want to share that with the committee, that is a continual issue that comes up for the office staff.
Is there a plan behind that as well? I guess that's the same question I just asked
yeah,
for the other one, but
you don't come.
right. I just didn't
Yeah.
know if there's a I know sometimes the state has recommendations of different proof of residency, requirements.
Those are the ones we use.
That's what you use.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then really, as far as control, you can only go by what.
I can't control if a parent, Jen's mom says Jen lives at 226 Gold Street, and then writes something up, and then that's an affidavit, and then she can bring me her cell phone bill.
Okay.
But I know it's not her residency.
Right.
I know it's mom's, and I know they might not, and that parent might not even be there, and grandparent might be taking care of the child. So there's lots of loopholes, and I don't know all the answers, because it's becoming more and more.
Right.
of a
Yeah. I know
challenge.
that's been an issue for years in
Yeah.
Irving, and it's always
And
come up in
we
spurts.
do our due diligence because of our fiscal responsibility to the towns, for me, that I represent in Union 28. And, sometimes we have to consult with legal counsel and make sure we're doing everything that we are supposed to.
And residency is only checked the very first year they enter. I've done so much paperwork this year.
Yes.
I can't remember which kid I did what
but
for.
what will happen is you still had to show proof of residency for your preschooler, even though you showed that information.
Correct, but I didn't do anything for my first
Yes,
grader. So if he's
yes.
been here for years and we've moved, we live across the street. We
I
moved,
kept
yeah.
waiting for the bus.
Essentially, there would be no ask of me
No,
after
I
that.
wouldn't know.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't know. Yeah, that's a really great point, Caitlin. I wouldn't know.
And there's nothing we can
Unless you said that we're
Every
gonna-
year.
We're gonna collect proof of residency, here's where I'm gonna go next, we currently have 130 students. So every year, we need another, and I don't think that my office staff can maintain that.
Right.
That amount of work.
And we haven't done that in any school I've been in
No.
administrator.
I've never heard of that. And I will say, there was a family this year who did move from one place in Erving to another place in Erving, came in, gave us all the updated paperwork, went through, and didn't need to even, but did make sure that she let us know that there was a change.
Right.
Yeah, but that's a great point, but poor Pat, she'd kill me.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't sure, like, if you're hearing that more of new first-year students and preschoolers, and that's where this is coming from, or if it was coming from other stuff, or.
No, it's also coming
Okay.
from, we did have a situation last year where we said, no, you are couch surfing, you don't live here, you're truly homeless, which means you're sending school, you're considered homeless, and it goes under McKinney-Vento law.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Do you have a breakdown of the 100?
here it comes.
Thank you.
Our
Sorry,
first
again.
year preschool students, we have 12. Our second year preschool students, we have 11. Kindergarten, we have 12. Grade 1, we have 20. Grade 2, we have 16. Grade 3, we have 18. Grade 4, we have 15. And grade 5, we have 13. And grade 6, we have 13. We have approximately 97 families. We have a total of 20 new students. That includes new students to EES who've never been here before. That includes our 12 first-year preschool students and 2 students who were school choice and have returned back to the school. So Pat said that's a larger number than there has been in years past with it. So that would be, yeah, and those new students are dispersed K through 6, not just in the earlier grades.
And all of those grades are, well, preschool's in 2 classrooms and 6th grades in 2 classrooms?
Mm-hmm. And that is a longer report for me, but that's all I got.
It is the first month of school.
It is the first month.
Great, thank you very much. Budget and Personnel Committee report.
We'll be meeting on October 17th. Last night at Joint Supervisory, Caitlin handed out her memo for the budget season for Union 28. As you all know, we begin that budget first because it's embedded in all 4 other budgets in Union 28.
And the Union 28 committee report?
We had our first meeting yesterday. My evaluation was presented, I presented my goals. We discussed our district strategic plan, which will be going out. My goals went out today, the strategic plan will go out in a couple of weeks. We talked a little bit about the roadmap for continuous improvement in student support services, which is our Director of Student Support Services goal this year. And I'll be talking about that more at the November meeting. By our November meeting, hopefully we have our budget. We've met with the B&P and we'll be ready to discuss the budget to the whole committee. Our Director's Curriculum and Instruction came and presented, and Heather Michaud from the Collins Center came to talk about applying for grants for regional efficiencies for Union 28. I think I hit all the high points, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Great, thank you very much. All right, so the next meeting is November 14th, 2022 at 6:30. Any old business?
I didn't know if we wanted to address, Caitlin had sent you an email, Jen?
Yeah, I don't know if that was old or new.
We can,
I don't know if it's-
we'll skip down to new business.
And
It's
we
not
can
old
address
news.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we actually have, well, we have the pie report to do, but did you want to talk more about the regional efficiencies, or just that there's grant money for it? Or?
Yep, I can
Okay.
do that. So before yesterday, in talking with the Collins Center, and they've done some support with Wendell and Leverett regionalizing their police force. I was told that we could apply for what's called a Community Compact Best Practices Grant, but Union 28 can't apply for it. It has to be done by an eligible member town. So Leverett and Wendell wouldn't be eligible because they just got Community Compact grant money, but Erving, Shutesbury, and New Salem would be eligible to apply for that. And then today, I got another message from Heather Michaud from the Collins Center that says there's going to be a regionalization and efficiencies grant in October that superintendents and unions can apply for. And what we would be applying for is to partner with the Collins Center to study where can we find operational efficiencies for Union 28 instead of doubling, tripling, or quadrupling our efforts in all 4 member districts. The cost of the study is $32,000, but the study to happen. So I'm meeting with Heather Michaud again to talk about which grant might be our best option.
Now, if Erving went to apply for one, who processes that paperwork?
So I would partner with someone from the town of Erving or someone from the town of Shutesbury or New Salem to do that.
Okay.
So once, I think Shutesbury already said they would apply on our behalf, but that was yesterday, and today I get new news from Heather, who didn't think a superintendency union could apply for the efficiency money, and now she thinks we can. So as soon as I clarify all of that, I will let all of the committees know, but I really think it's worth the time and effort to apply for the grant to study ways that we can be more efficient in Union 28.
Absolutely, thank you.
So would that, it would do this study, would there be any help implementing plans afterwards, or would that fall all on the union?
So what happens, I think, is they do a final report and make recommendations, and then we can decide what we want to go forward with. But in my listening to Anna Weatherby, who is the Wendell representative on New Salem Wendell, she was also part of the work about regionalizing, or doing the grant work to regionalize the police force, and she said the Collins Center was very helpful, and I think they can continue to support towns/districts in doing that work.
Okay, because I know this has come up a lot, and I feel like this is that constant conversation that we've had of like, what can we do to work together, and how can we do it? And we get to one point, and then it stops because of many different reasons. But I would just hate to apply for a grant, get awarded all this money, have this great search, and then have it, go nowhere. Like, oh, look at these are all our problems, and we don't have solutions, or we haven't moved forward. So
Yeah, so
I think
they
that
would make recommendations based on qualitative and quantitative analysis of data and interviews, and they would have clear, concrete recommendations for us.
Now, and this would be shared across the 3 other towns that we just talked about, Erving, Shutesbury.
Yes,
Wendell.
so
Yep.
if we did the community compact, one town would have to be the fiscal agent, and I liken it to New Salem Wendell being the fiscal agent for Union 28. If we applied for the regionalization and efficiencies grant, I believe I can do it. I still believe New Salem Wendell would have to be the fiscal agent because we don't have the power to be our own fiscal agent at Union 28. But it would benefit all of the schools in that it would offer support, say, for one food service director who does all of the work at DESE, for example, or other operational efficiencies.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, okay, so we can switch gears to those questions that were,
And I'm going to give a
bring
little
up.
background, if you don't mind, Jen and
Absolutely.
Caitlin, and you can hop in if I'm misspeaking. But Caitlin emailed some questions she had, and in the interest of sharing information across the committee, I thought it best, I'm sure if Caitlin has questions, others have questions. And so in talking with Jen and Lisa, we thought perhaps it would be best to answer and address those questions at a school committee meeting so that all of the committee members could hear. So,
And they weren't solely my questions.
Yeah,
I guess that's what I
right.
would add in there, is that
Perfect.
it was feedback from multiple places and I was the hub. We'll call it that.
and so the questions we'll answer tonight are those questions that are like, how much or how many kinds of questions, what is happening kinds of questions. So one of the questions that was asked were how many children were school choiced out of Erving Elementary, and any feedback. So of course, it's tough to have discussions to keep information confidential in tiny towns, but we had one family who had 2 children. And often families have needs and wants for schooling that are available at other schools, whether it's in our union or outside. And sometimes, and this was the feedback we got, it's about the school that will be receiving them secondarily. So that was the feedback we got about that particular family. And Lisa, if I miss anything, you jump right in. Another question was asked, how many staff have left Erving Elementary School since last year, and what might be the reasons? We had a total amount of 7 staff leave, 2 were retirements, 2 paras left to work in Northfield, another employee left to pursue a career outside of education, and we had an adjustment counselor and a school psychologist who chose to go to one school rather than 2 schools. And if any of you have split time between 2 schools, you know how difficult that can be. Then there was a question asked about how many students in the 6th grade and how many students in the 1st grade, and then in looking at the student count, how many staff are in there and roles. So there are 13 students in the 6th grade, and there are 2 teachers, and the needs of the students necessitated a split at this particular time.
So is there a classroom of 6 and a classroom of 7?
With just a single teacher? No para. Okay. But then there's support staff for like math, reading, that
We
flow
haven't
in and out?
determined that yet. We'll
Okay.
determine that in our data meetings. And I can say at this point, after having a quick conversation with Melissa and Wendy, our reading team will be focusing right now in our first round of interventions, most likely K1, 2, and 3. But again, and a smattering in the other grades, but the most needs that we see right now are in the younger grades.
And if we think about those are the students who are the youngest during the pandemic, and typically we do identify students in the younger grades, and hopefully the interventions work well enough that we see less and less students needing interventions as they go.
I guess could I ask a further question too about the splitting of the group of 13 and then there's a group of 20? I mean, why would
You focus the split on a lesser amount versus a higher amount?
I can't get into too many details about the group of 13, but I can share, I worked closely with Rob Holtz last year with the group of 13 students. And with lots of internet and issues, it's just, it's hard for me to be able to, I can't say more, really. It's just a very challenging group to be together. It wasn't a decision I took lightly, and I think if you spoke to Mrs. DeSorger, who had them in 5th grade, and Mr. Burnett and Mrs. Flaherty, who currently have them, if they were able to share information, they would support the decision that was made, and they were at the table.
Okay, I just concerns with such a small crew, it's hard to get conversations going. I mean, being
Yeah, so
a
they do
previous
have some
educator, that
time.
is-
Yep, so they do have some time because we're not in these little pockets anymore. Every morning, the 5th and 6th graders are out in the well, and that's where they start their day. They come together for some of their specials, the 2 classes do. Lunch and recess is 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, so we've got 40 kids together at lunch, 40 kids together at recess. We've got book buddies, we've got lots of things that they're doing where they're intermingling with other classes and other kids. So it's not just 6, because the first year of the pandemic when Mark had 8, it was really challenging. But again, because of the needs of these kids, it was a decision that wasn't taken lightly, but was supported by that staff. And we're looking at, can we do a combined 5th and 6th grade field trip when we feel comfortable to take the 2 6th grade classes off campus. They're starting with Morris Hill to hopefully build what your kiddos ended with. We're starting with that to hopefully build some team bonding, some understanding, some supporting of each other, some social, emotional components to what this group needs.
And I don't want to leave the first grade question unaddressed.
Yes, oh, yes.
Oh, sorry, so that was actually under
Yeah.
questions.
There are 20 students in there, however, the ratio is 5-to-1 when you look at one teacher, one classroom para, and 2 one-on-one paras who often help in the classroom. So when we're looking at adult-to-child ratios, it is 5-to-1.
And technically speaking, with the one-on-one pairs, if they're in the IEP as the one-on-one, that can't be part of that ratio though, right?
That would be a question for Karina Wisslow, I don't know.
Yeah.
We're looking for inclusion, so if a child with a one-to-one who is in the classroom, in the inclusive setting, we're not taking that person away from them. But I can say, I'm not gonna say, because I can't say.
I just didn't, the legality, like
Yeah.
with IEPs, like that's a
I
legal
put it this way,
document, and if
But we
this is
could
their
never
IEP.
take
I could never take it
the
away.
para away.
Right.
Yes,
But they,
no.
if
But
there
their
was another-
responsibility is that child, not necessarily other children in the classroom.
Primary, yes. But we really look for an inclusive model that there aren't kids where you need me and I'm by your side all day. We don't have that. So yes, you are correct, Caitlin. If it's in that IEP, that person, so if you have a one-to-one, I'm your para, I'm out sick, that's the first position I fill.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're the one-on-one and something happens with this child and it was later found out that you were somewhere else
Exactly.
with another student,
never
the
leave
liability is
the
on the school.
Yeah,
and
and
the,
we would never do
that's,
that.
No, but I'm saying that's kind of
Yeah.
where my thought process is it's not a 1-to-5 ratio in the sense of
It's still
help in
then,
that.
if we took the 2 paras out, it would be 10-to-1, which is NAEYC recommended for early childhood. National Association for the
Right.
Education of Young Children, not to speak in acronyms.
And I will say, I don't know any of you who know the first grade teacher. Nettie has years of teaching experience. I would never have made a decision if Nettie wasn't that classroom teacher, or if it wasn't Stephanie Berry, or a Benjamin Rubin. I wouldn't take a first-year teacher and would have made that decision. So that was part of the conversations and the discussions that we had. And I had conversations and discussions with Nettie, with the para-educators that work in there. So it wasn't, this is what it's gonna be. It was really looking at the needs of kids.
As we all know, during COVID, there were a lot of programs and events that were not part of our daily schedule across all of Union 28, but returning in person this year. We've already had open house, all school sing has happened, conferences, Veterans Day, band, although that did take place last year, I believe, winter concert, field trips. I believe music and movement will return once band lessons are scheduled. I think I'm hitting everything.
And the school play. So once Miss BC can, I want all of her things scheduled first. Last year we had a few snafus with band, and fourth grade band unfortunately didn't start till February, and I had some really unhappy parents. So making sure music classes are scheduled, yes. All of her band is scheduled. Yes, I just had a meeting with her and the union president saying we want the play to happen, we want M&M to happen. But I want all those other things scheduled first, and then her next thing that we're gonna come back and meet on is where's she gonna put in M&M? And what's that gonna look like in her schedule?
And will she'll be the sole teacher of M&M? Okay.
Yeah, and we are looking to bring back a really, a universally designed play for the school where kids have a little more autonomy into what they want to do and what they don't want to do. Every kid will have a role, but there are some sixth graders who may not even want to be in the play. And one of those parents has already outreached to me saying, please don't make my child be in the play. So
But there are other options
there are
we can
other
provide
options
to
for that
access.
child.
Right, that's never been a requirement,
Yeah.
so.
It has been, every class has performed, every class has gotten up front. Not every kid has acted, but every class has had to be up there. So that's something that I feel very deeply about from my own child who always was forced to be in the play, didn't want to be in the play, got in the play, froze. It's terrifying for some kids. And I have to think of that for all of our children. So if we make it universally designed where someone says, hey, I want to be on set crew, and hey, I want to do the lights, and hey, I want to make the program, and I'm a third grader who has a beautiful voice and wants to try out for the lead. that's the model that I would love to see happen. And
Yeah, I
there's-
think that has been the past because I know Ethan,
Yeah.
my son, was it?
Well, first, like,
he
younger
was
grades,
part of,
yeah.
He was part of like helping out. He didn't want to go up on stage or anything, and they made accommodations, and he just helped out and with like props and things like that.
And I would
so.
love to see some of our,
Yeah.
we've got a second grader who can sing like you wouldn't believe. I'd love to see her get a leading role in second grade if I don't have sixth graders who want to do it. And then she might want to do it every single year. So definitely changing the look of it a little bit and making it so it's accessible for all of our kids. So that
And it's changed so much, so I apologize. Is PE full-time now?
PE is full-time and
Okay.
it's PE and health. Miss Galvin also
Okay.
has her MTELs to teach health.
Okay,
So she'll be teaching PE and health,
awesome. And then,
which is a bonus.
yeah,
Because health has not been in the
No.
in the curriculum. It's in our curriculum, but it hasn't been addressed.
Gail taught it when I was here.
Yeah. Without Gail going here, like, doing the girl talk and
Yeah.
the boy talk.
But honestly, health, and again, think about the effects of the pandemic. There's mental health, there's social
Yes.
emotional wellness, and we really need to support our students, not just academically, but really across the board. So
And that is scheduled currently 3, 4, 5, and 6 is where she's starting with.
there was a question about resources being allocated to support the students. So budget season, as you know, we just talked about, is right around the corner. We're all going to be working together, Lisa, Caitlin, and myself, to fill the vacancy of early childhood coordinator. And really, when we sit down to do the budget, it's really needs of all students that become part of the budget discussions over the course of the season. It is numbers on a page, yes, but at the center of our budget is our students, and we think about that constantly. After school on Wednesdays, so this year we have a district-wide professional development plan. It's reading and it's equity. It's applicable to all of our staff members, and so we will be offering professional development to both in Erving, Unit A and Unit B, and making sure it's equitable for all of our staff.
And the other piece that's really important with the new Wednesday consultation model is that the staff, who are all of our para-educators, spend the most time with the kids during the day. They're with them in the classroom, they're with them at lunch, they're with them at recess, some of them go to specials, some of them don't, and their voice is so important to be heard when we have those collaboration meetings and when we come together and we talk about kids and we talk about giving background information about a child who might have DCF involvement, or who is a child of trauma, or if the school psychologist or adjustment counselor are sharing tips and ideas on what we need to do to help all of our kids. Those are the people that need to be at that table. So I would hate to take them out of these Wednesday times. And one thing I forgot to celebrate, I'm going backwards a little bit. This is the first year we're offering after school for preschoolers. It's never happened before. So that's a new addition, and that's something, again, I know people need that Wednesday. I have been a working parent since my kids were Caitlin's age, and I still am with high schoolers. I understand that need for every day, but I also have to have those people who are with the kids the most having the same training as their colleagues in Union 28 and being at the table when we're discussing kids and sharing pertinent information to the people who are with the kids the most and who are oftentimes, I got two of them right here, and one back there, Miss Britt, those are the go-to people that the kids go to. That's their people. So if they don't know that Johnny has DCF in their house and that we're setting up a new behavior plan and we're doing X, Y, Z, they're the go-tos. They're the first responders to our kids when they're
Is it in their contract, Unit B, to be there the full day till 3:15?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not across all of Union 28 though, Jen, but
In Erving.
In Erving it is, yes.
Yep. Two questions. One was back to early childhood coordinator. I know that the school has had one
I don't know how many FTEs, but not full-time, for Erving, are you looking for a union coordinator, or are you looking for an Erving coordinator?
We've talked about both, Jen. We've talked
Yes, we
about
have.
something, somebody helping Gilly, maybe doing more with that position. I'd like to bring something back here for Erving, in not looking at a different model than what was used. The classroom teachers do all of the screenings, pre-K and K. They do all of their home interviews. I don't need someone to organize screenings. It would be lovely to have someone to do that organize the parent events that there used to be, coffee with the fire department and those sorts of things. But also someone with some really, really strong early childhood experience who can roll up their sleeves and be in it with those teachers in the ready when they need it. Helping them look at kids, helping them look at data, helping them look at the needs, and maybe even rolling up and being in the classroom part of the time. And then also working with other, I don't know if other Union 28 schools are looking at it, but it's something, we have a larger early childhood department than other schools because we have a larger preschool program than the other 3 schools do. So it's definitely time to bring it back with a different look, a little bit more of a hands-on, because as I will continue to say, we're going to see the effects of COVID on these littlest ones for the next 3 to 5 years.
At least, right?
At least. So that's really where we're looking to put the eggs in that basket.
Perfect. And then with after school, I know like the whole contract thing, and that's who is staffed at our after school right now are the wonderful staff that are with them all day and then continuing their evenings. Is that because of the way it was posted, or was there not anyone interested outside of the school to be a part of that? Or I just am curious as to how that falls.
Yeah, that's a great question, Caitlin. We tried last year in Union-wide to bring in an organization. I can't remember what they were called.
Healthy Kids.
Healthy Kids. And we were ready for Healthy Kids. Healthy Kids wasn't ready for us. They had to get the certifications for the schools. They had to follow. They were out of New York, I think, and New Jersey. And they were saying, like, we're ready to come to Massachusetts. But they really weren't ready when we're like, we're ready for you.
They didn't have whatever was necessary at the state level
Yes,
here
for licensure.
to provide care. So it has been something we've talked about in all of our union schools.
It has been posted for Union 28 since last year. And thank goodness, Lori Flaherty and Eris Tolumpsis and Terry Drisdell said last year, there's nobody interested, we will help you. So out of the goodness of their hearts, I said, let's make a program. It doesn't have to be till 6 o'clock, right? What works for you all who've had a long day? And so we created something, and then this year Julie Wheeler came to me and said, I know some working preschool parents. What do you think? I said, if you want to do it, we'll do it. We got to help we got to help parents. So we had an applicate. We had Union 28 postings, Caitlin, and no.
Seems to be a common
I don't know
theme.
if it's my place to say anything, but I've been doing after school since forever here. And not having the Wednesdays, and I've always done Wednesdays too, is the best thing we've ever, decided. We get a lot of kids who don't want to be there on Wednesdays, and it makes for a really, really hard day. It makes for the younger ones, the older ones don't want to play with them, and you don't get a lot of staff that want to help out. And the way it is now, it's wonderful. The kids, we do homework. It's just a great feeling. Again, I don't know if I'm supposed to speak, but I need you to know.
You're welcome
that-
to speak.
Well, I can't speak for Jen. I can speak for this Jen, but you do the work, so it's nice to hear the
So
feedback,
it's,
right?
it's, like I said, I've been doing at least 15, most of my time here I've done after school. And it's nice to be able to have the connection differently with the kids and be able to teach them at school, because when you have the kids who are having the hard meltdowns, they know me too as Miss Lori, who they have fun with and they can play with, and they can see me in a different light, and they know that I'm gonna protect them and everything's gonna be okay. And it makes for...
It makes a huge difference.
It does. It makes for than having people come in that don't even know the kids, because half the time we have to be in there anyways. So they're calling for emergency saying, you need to come help us with...
X, Y, and Z. These
Right.
kids. And one thing that is nice is to have Lori, who is a fixture in the community, but school-based staff, because I can bring in 6 UMass kids, I'm still gonna have to be here. Or I'm gonna have to hire Lori to be a site coordinator. Where's the AED? Where's the ice packs? Where's, all of those things? So I'm still gonna need someone to oversee that program. So that becomes, and it's really nice that this amazing group of 4, and Jennifer Smith does all of the billing and all of the enrollment. It's all done in-house. They know the kids, and we have a class dojo set up, and if a parent's gonna be late, they dojo the staff members see it, and I wouldn't feel as comfortable with a group of students or whomever was gonna come in and do it. So I wish I could offer the Wednesdays, but I do wanna share one thing, that when I came here, there was a lot of animosity amongst staff as to how come she doesn't have to do Wednesdays, but she really wanted to do Wednesdays, but there was no one to run after school, and it became very contentious. So that was something I inherited when I came, and it didn't feel good amongst the staff to be resentful that, well, you're doing after school, but I've got to sit through math PD. Well, then you go do after school, and I don't really want to do after school. But you don't have to do it. So it gets contentious amongst the people who want to do it.
Yeah, and I know that's different with all the schools, with Erving being a contracted that way. And I wasn't aware that some staff who were contracted to be in meetings were actually going to after school. That's new news, so that probably shouldn't have been happening either.
And every year we'll keep trying to rethink and reimagine what after school
And I mean, we can
looks
say right now, Leverett doesn't even have a program. Right, so I feel that we're fortunate to have the staff that we have, who are willing to do 4 days a week and on a Friday, when they really probably just want to be done with their workday, and they're here till 5:15. I mean, sometimes it's just for one child. So I'm very appreciative of the work that they do and their commitment.
And I have one final question to answer. Is there a plan to fix the playground surfaces? And that is going to go to capital planning this year. That can be one of the things that goes to capital.
And I want to share, and it's a little saddening to me, I'm outside at recess every day. Every single day I'm out there. And we could ask the staff that are out there, it's not the kids during the school day, most of them, ripping it up and throwing it. And unfortunately, it's an open play. It's an open playground, right? And I'm not blaming it on people after school, but I'm out there every day with 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and those kids are not ripping up the playground. They're playing kickball, they're on the structure. Today they were doing gymnastics. I said, no gymnastics. I broke my arm doing gymnastics at recess. They're on the swing. So I'm not seeing kids during the school day destroy school property. And unfortunately, I think it's more after. It is worn, right? It's seen better days.
I was going to say, it's definitely seen its years.
Yeah, it's seen better days.
Can I say something about that too, please?
About the playgrounds?
Yes, and just to let you know too, that on 3 different occasions, the outdoor classrooms and the art areas have been totally
Vandalized.
destroyed.
Yeah.
Where they have people that went out and they broke furniture with like sledgehammers. Out there, they flipped all of our obstacle courses upside down. They have emptied the water buckets. They've thrown things over the embankment that took me probably 3 hours to drag back up and set the obstacle courses back up. They've ripped the curtains down out of the outdoor classroom. They dumped the sandbox. And they've got to be strong kids because those are heavy. And they've just totally destroyed it out there. And we know it's a public place, and it's a public playground, but sometimes there's no respect out there, and I don't believe it's our kids that are doing all that damage.
Thank you for sharing, and Lori, I want to thank you for sharing your experience as well. Thank you both. Yeah, maybe we could work to partner with Chief Holtz and maybe come up with a plan.
And I did talk, they came and did a walkthrough before school started because there's some new officers, and they talked about patrolling and going around more often, and I did share those things with the new officers also.
Thank you.
That would be great.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to add one more question to that. I know we've gone through a lot of questions, and I appreciate your time this evening. Could you just talk a little bit more about pickup and drop-off? I think someone had mentioned that it's been kind of congested and maybe a safety issue of the pickup.
Yeah, I want to say right now, we finished pickup and drop off. We have streamlined our procedure. All the kids are released from inside the building now because that's for lack of staff.